I have watched you hold your breath in the dark, trying to make sense of the silence, trying to carry a weight that was never meant to crush you. You feel the confusion tightening around your chest, and the waiting has begun to feel like a storm swallowing your strength. But hear me with your spirit, not your ears. I am breaking into your atmosphere right now. My presence is not subtle, my voice is not distant, my nearness is not fragile. I step into the exact place where your thoughts feel scattered, and I place my hand over your heart with a force that stops the chaos. You have asked, Lord, where are you in all of this? And I answer you now. I am right in the center of what you call confusion, shaping what you cannot yet recognize. What I promised you is not only alive, it is already forming beneath the layers of uncertainty you've been fighting. Every breath you survived, every night you endured, every moment you thought you were breaking, I was aligning your steps, refining your faith, strengthening your spirit for a promise bigger than your understanding. You feel the tension because you are standing at the edge of something holy. You feel the shaking because your destiny is shifting into place. You feel the silence because I am building what requires precision, timing, and divine alignment. Do not mistake my stillness for absence. Do not misinterpret my timing as delay. Nothing is collapsing. Everything is taking shape. And if your heart feels me speaking right now, declare it in the comments with faith. Jesus, I trust your timing, even when I don't understand. I have been watching the quiet battle inside you, that silent war between what you believe and what you fear, between the promise you carry and the confusion that tries to smother it. You have been waiting so long that even your faith feels tired, as if the weight of uncertainty has been pressing against your chest day after day. But listen to me now. The promise I spoke over your life is not weakening, it's growing, shaping itself in the unseen places where your eyes cannot yet reach. You look at your days and think nothing is happening. You look at your emotions and assume something is wrong. You look at the silence and mistake it for abandonment. But child, silence is where I sculpt the deepest things. Silence is where I form the foundations that must hold the destiny I prepared for you. Nothing great is built loudly. Nothing sacred is rushed. Nothing eternal is fragile. You have wondered, Lord, why do I feel this heavy tension inside? Why does the waiting feel like something stretching my soul in every direction? Because formation always creates pressure, because alignment always creates friction, because destiny always creates resistance right before breakthrough. What you feel as heaviness is actually the shaping of purpose. What you feel as confusion is the stripping away of what cannot follow you into the next season. What you feel as instability is me shaking loose the fears that once dictated your steps. I am rearranging the inner architecture of your life. I am strengthening parts of you that storms once weakened. I am restoring places you thought would never hold peace again. Every shift, every ache, every moment you can't explain, these are signs that something alive is forming inside you. You expect visible movement, but the first evidence of my promise is always internal. Before you see change around you, you feel change within you. Before you witness doors opening, you sense your spirit loosening. Before provision arrives, faith expands. Before timing becomes clear, my nearness becomes undeniable. And that nearness, you felt it, even in your confusion, even in your tiredness, even in your long nights of waiting. You have felt brief waves of calm crashing through your fear, moments of peace that made no sense, small but unmistakable touches that reminded you I was close. These were not emotional accidents. They were the early footsteps of what I am forming. You are not unraveling. You are unfolding. You are not stuck. You are stabilizing. You are not behind. You are being aligned with precision. This is the quiet stage of the promise, the stage where nothing looks different externally, but everything is shifting internally. The stage where your spirit begins to recognize what your eyes cannot yet see. The stage where I prepare you to hold what I am about to place in your hands. And I tell you again, nothing is still, nothing is wasted. Nothing is delayed beyond my perfect timing. What I began in you is taking shape, slowly, deeply, beautifully. Let me take you deeper into what is unfolding within you. The quiet shift you feel, those sudden moments when strength appears out of nowhere, when calm interrupts your storm. When peace rises even while your questions remain, these are not random. They are the first movements of the promise pushing toward visibility. When I breathe on something, it begins to grow long before the world recognizes it. You keep thinking nothing is changing because the outside still looks the same, but transformation always begins in the unseen. A seed does not announce its growth. It breaks open in the dark. Foundations are not admired while they're being laid. They are shaped beneath the surface. And you, my child, are in that sacred underground season where I am strengthening what will later support everything I promised you. You feel the tension because your spirit is expanding. You feel the restlessness because you are outgrowing the fears that once controlled you. You feel the pressure because the weight of your calling is settling into place. And though you do not yet see the full structure rising, the internal frame is already built. Destiny forms in stages, and you are standing in the stage where your heart catches up to what my voice already declared. Let me tell you something you have not fully realized. You are being shaped for the promise at the same time the promise is being shaped for you. I prepare both sides. I align both paths. I protect both timelines. What I am forming in you is not simply endurance. It is identity. It is strength forged in stillness. It is faith that no storm can steal. It is purpose carved with precision. It is healing that restores what fear tried to bury. This is why you feel me so closely at times, closer than your breath, closer than your thoughts, closer than the confusion that tries to rise again. My nearness is not a moment. It is my signature on your destiny. Every time you felt that soft touch in your spirit, that gentle whisper that broke through the noise, that unexpected peace that wrapped around your heart, that was me reminding you. The promise is forming. Do not step back now. You are not standing in uncertainty. You are standing in alignment. You are not drifting. You are being positioned. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. Soon, what is growing inside you will break into the visible realm with clarity, direction, and timing that will make sense only in hindsight. You will see why the silence was necessary. You will understand why the waiting stretched you. You will realize why I moved slowly at first, because I was shaping something that could not collapse under pressure. And now, I ask you to acknowledge what is rising within you. If your spirit feels my voice, if something awakened while you listened, if hope began to breathe again inside you, write in the comments with faith and expectation, Jesus, I feel your promise forming inside me. I watched Amanda sit alone in her room that night, the dim light falling across her face as she stared at the ceiling, wondering why I felt so far away. She had prayed, whispered, pleaded, and yet the silence seemed heavier than anything she had carried before. Her heart trembled with the same confusion you have felt. Lord, why does your timing feel so slow? Why do my answers seem so distant? But even as she felt abandoned, I was closer to her than her own breath. My nearness surrounded her like a quiet blanket. Though she could not feel it through the fog of her questions, I was aligning more than she could imagine. I was setting pieces in place that she did not yet have the capacity to see. Her faith told her to wait. Her exhaustion told her to quit. And I stood in the center of that tension, holding her heart in my hands. She thought the silence meant nothing was happening, but her spirit was already shifting. Her tears were not signs of defeat. They were the soft cracking of the shell that once surrounded her faith. She believed she was losing strength, but in truth she was entering the deeper layers of trust, the kind that only forms when everything familiar becomes quiet. Amanda whispered into the night, God, am I missing something? Am I doing something wrong? No, she was not. She was not off course. She was not forgotten. She was not outside my purpose. She was standing exactly where the foundation of her destiny needed to be strengthened. I watched her sit on the floor, pulling her knees into her chest, thinking she was completely alone. Yet my touch rested over her spirit like a soft hand on her back, steadying her breathing, slowing the storm in her chest. She did not recognize it as me. She thought it was simply a moment of calm. But peace is never accidental. Strength does not appear out of nowhere. Healing does not whisper without my voice behind it. Her room felt small, but her calling was expanding. The silence around her felt suffocating, but the alignment within her was becoming clearer. She was not waiting for me to begin working. I had already begun long before she asked her first question. In that late-night moment, Amanda did not see the invisible threads I was weaving around her life. The connections, the timing, the protection, the provision. She only saw the stillness. But stillness is where I prepare hearts for what is coming next. It is where I polish the places that fear once occupied. It is where I restore what disappointment tried to dismantle. And there, in her quiet room, surrounded by her unanswered questions, the promise over her life was not stalled. It was taking shape inside her, quietly, steadily, precisely, exactly the way I intended. As Amanda rested in that uncomfortable quiet, she did not know how much I was doing beneath the surface of her life. She thought she had reached the end of her strength, but she was standing at the beginning of a deeper surrender, the kind that allows my voice to echo clearly without the interference of fear. I was not delaying her future. I was preparing her heart to carry it with maturity and confidence. She felt as though nothing around her was shifting, but within her spirit, new foundations were settling. Faith was being rewoven. Hope was being restored thread by thread. Healing was taking place in places she had kept hidden from everyone, even from herself. She assumed that waiting meant weakness, but waiting, in my hands, becomes strength. Waiting becomes alignment. Waiting becomes revelation. There came a moment that night when her breathing slowed and her thoughts softened. Her tears dried not because her questions were answered, but because my presence settled over her like a gentle weight. She didn't hear words, but she felt a stillness that silenced her panic. She didn't see a sign, but she sensed a quiet reassurance rising within her chest. She didn't understand it, yet she leaned into it without realizing she was leaning into me. I whispered to her spirit, not with volume but with clarity, "I am here. I am not late. I am shaping what you cannot yet see." And though she could not articulate why, peace began to settle into the cracks of her fear. Her thoughts slowed, her heartbeat steadied, her soul rested. She sat in the same room with the same unanswered petitions, but the atmosphere inside her shifted. She did not know it, but she had just stepped into a new level of faith, one that breathes even when the world feels silent. In that sacred moment, I was rearranging things far beyond her imagination. I was redirecting paths that would lead her into purpose. I was closing doors that would have wounded her. I was aligning opportunities with perfect timing. I was guiding the unseen movement of her destiny, while she simply breathed in the calm I placed upon her. The stillness was not empty. It was full of my work. Amanda believed she was behind in life. She thought she had failed, that she had missed some divine moment she should have recognized earlier. But no one who trusts me ever falls out of alignment. No one who seeks my voice ever loses their way. I take every misstep, every delay, every disappointment, and I weave them into direction. I turn what feels like wasted time into preparation. I turn what feels broken into restoration. I turn what feels meaningless into purpose. She sat there thinking her night was ordinary, unremarkable, painfully still. Yet that was the night I reset her future. That was the night I rewrote the tension inside her heart. That was the night she unknowingly stepped into the unfolding of my promise. Not with noise, not with signs, not with sudden breakthroughs, but with a quiet shift, a steady peace, a deep reassurance that came directly from my nearness. Her question, "God, why are you so slow?" was never a sign of weak faith. It was the sign of a heart ready to be shaped. And what she perceived as my silence was actually the beginning of her transformation. I remember the night Peter's confidence collapsed beneath the weight of his own fear. He had walked beside me, listened to my voice, witnessed miracles with his own eyes. Yet when the storm rose and the winds roared around him, the strength he thought he had dissolved in an instant. His faith trembled the same way yours has trembled in seasons of confusion and delay. His courage faltered, just as yours has faltered under pressure. And yet, even in his weakness, I never stepped away from him. Peter believed he was failing me, but I saw deeper. I saw a heart stretched beyond what it had ever carried before. I saw the raw tension between his desire to trust and the fear that wrapped around his chest. When he began to sink beneath the waves, he didn't fall because he lacked purpose. He fell because the unknown felt louder than my voice. And you have felt that too. Moments when uncertainty feels bigger than the promise I spoke over your life. But look at what happened next. I did not wait for Peter to regain control. I did not stand at a distance, demanding stronger faith. I reached for him instantly. My hand was already there, cutting through the chaos, pulling him back to the surface before the water swallowed him. That moment, my hand gripping his was not a rescue from failure, but a revelation. I am closest to you when your faith feels the weakest. I am near when you can't steady yourself. I am present when your courage shakes and your steps falter. Peter looked at me with a mixture of shame and relief, whispering, "Lord, save me." But I had already moved before the words left his lips, because I never let my children fall beyond the reach of my touch. Your journey mirrors Peter's more than you realize. You have stepped out onto uncertain waters, following my calling even when you did not fully understand the direction. You have tried to walk by faith in seasons where visibility failed you, and when fear rose like a wave against your chest, you felt yourself sinking, not because you doubted me entirely, but because your heart was overwhelmed. But hear me clearly. I have never removed my hand from you. When your strength wavered, mine increased. When your clarity faded, my direction remained steady. When your peace dissolved, my voice continued speaking beneath the noise. Peter was not disqualified by his moment of weak faith, and neither are you. That moment became the place where his identity was reshaped, where his confidence shifted from his own ability to my nearness. And that same shift is happening within you. I am teaching you not to rely on the surface of your strength, but on the depth of my presence. And if these words are awakening something inside you, if you feel my nearness, my touch, my reassurance, then do this simple act of faith to mark the moment. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like, as a declaration that you choose to keep walking with me, even when the waters feel deep. When I lifted Peter from the water, he expected rebuke. He expected disappointment. He expected me to point out everything he did wrong. But I did none of those things. Instead, I held him firmly, letting him feel the strength of my grip, letting him understand that my faithfulness does not depend on the strength of his faith. His heartbeat was trembling, his clothes were heavy with water, and his eyes were filled with regret. But I saw beauty even in that fragile moment. Because weakness is not failure. Weakness is the doorway where my presence enters deepest. As I guided Peter back to the boat, the storm did not stop immediately. The wind still roared, the waves still surged, the chaos still pressed against him. Yet something had changed inside him. He was no longer trying to survive by his own strength. He was learning the truth that you are also learning. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the choice to reach for my hand even when fear is loud. I watched Peter's mind race with shame, with questions, with self-doubt. But I also watched courage begin to rebuild itself inside him, not from pride, not from self-confidence, but from the realization that I never left his side, and I have never left yours. You have had moments when fear rose suddenly, when clarity disappeared, when your calling felt distant, moments when you tried to step forward, but felt yourself sinking under pressure. You believed you should have been stronger. You believed you should have held on more tightly. But I see something else. I see a heart that keeps reaching for me over and over, even when you feel unsteady. And that reaching, that fragile, trembling reaching, is what allows me to shape you. Do you know what happened after that night? Peter became a pillar, not because he never doubted again, but because he learned where to anchor his soul. He discovered that my nearness was stronger than his fear. He learned that storms do not decide destiny. My voice does. He learned that every step taken toward me, even shaky ones, becomes part of the foundation of a calling no storm can erase. I am doing the same in you. Every moment you felt yourself sinking, I was already reaching. Every time your strength wavered, mine surrounded you. Every time confusion clouded your vision, I whispered direction beneath the noise. Your destiny is not built on flawless faith. It is built on connection, on the unbroken thread between your heart and my hand. I am shaping you into someone who no longer fears the waves, because you know the one who commands them. There are days when you look at your life and nothing seems to move. You pray, yet the atmosphere feels unchanged. You wait, yet the horizon looks exactly the same. You take one step forward, only to feel as though the ground beneath you isn't shifting at all. It is in these moments that your heart whispers the question you rarely say out loud. Lord, why does everything feel still? But hear me, my child. Stillness is not absence. Stillness is instruction. Stillness is formation. Stillness is the quiet room where I prepare what cannot be rushed. When you look at your surroundings and see no evidence of progress, you assume something has stalled. But progress in my kingdom rarely begins on the surface. Progress begins in the invisible layers of your spirit, where your character expands, where your faith takes root, where your identity strengthens, where your fear loses its grip. What you interpret as nothing happening is often where I am doing my most detailed work. I watched you look at the closed doors and assume they were signs of failure. But not every closed door is a rejection. Some are shields. Some are delays designed to protect your timing. Some are redirections meant to keep you aligned with your purpose. Some are pauses written into your path so you don't arrive before your destiny is ready to receive you. You see a motionless landscape. I see a foundation being reinforced. You see unanswered prayers. I see precision in timing. You see stagnation. I see alignment between your heart and your calling. You expect progress to feel loud, breakthroughs, sudden shifts, visible change. But most of the growth I create arrives quietly. The way morning light enters a room, unnoticed at first, then suddenly it fills everything. I am shaping you the same way, subtle, steady, deliberate, until the moment when everything becomes clear at once. Do not underestimate what I do in silence. Do not dismiss the seasons where you cannot measure movement. Do not assume that I am distant because you cannot see my hand. There is soil inside you where I have planted things that take time to break open. Seeds do not announce themselves. Roots do not reveal their depth. The earliest stages of transformation are always hidden beneath the surface. And you, right now, are living through a sacred stage of hidden transformation. I know you feel the tension, the desire to move mixed with the inability to see direction. I know the longing you carry, the questions that rise, the restlessness that stirs in your chest. But what you call delay is often me slowing you to protect you from arriving too soon. What you call stillness is me preparing the environment ahead of you. What you call no progress is me preparing the version of you who can carry everything I have promised. There is progress even now, quiet, steady, undeniable, shaping you from within. Let me show you what you have not been able to see. Even in the seasons where everything appears unmoving, I am weaving details together with precision. You assume progress must feel like momentum, but sometimes progress feels like restraint. Sometimes it feels like stillness, because I am holding you in place long enough for clarity to take shape inside you. You are not motionless. You are being positioned. There are layers of your heart I have been restoring quietly, places where disappointment once built walls around your hope. I have been softening those walls, reshaping the space within you so it can hold the weight of what I am preparing. When you look at your circumstances and find no measurable change, you think the journey has paused. But I am not only transforming your future, I am transforming you. And inner transformation rarely appears dramatic from the outside. There have been moments when you felt the faintest rise of peace, a subtle calm slipping into your thoughts when you expected anxiety instead. You may have dismissed these moments as temporary relief, but they were signs of my healing tracing new lines across your spirit. They were evidence that I have been working in the places too deep for your eyes to discover. You have prayed for direction, not realizing that I have been gradually aligning your desires with my will. Before I open a door, I shape the heart that will walk through it. Before I reveal the next step, I settle the foundation beneath the one you're standing on. Before I answer loudly, I teach you to recognize my voice in whispers. This is why the process has felt slow, because I am not preparing a moment, I am preparing a destiny. There is progress in the softening of your fears, progress in the quiet strengthening of your faith, progress in the way you no longer run the way you once did, progress in the way my nearness feels more familiar than it used to. You have changed more than you realize, even if your surroundings haven't changed yet. And as the transformation continues, something beautiful begins to happen. Your heart becomes steady in me. Not steady because circumstances have improved, but steady because it rests in the one who holds all timing, direction, and provision. That steadiness is not small. It is the evidence of a deeper alignment, a deeper restoration, a deeper readiness. Soon, what has been hidden will rise to the surface. The roots that have been stretching beneath the soil will break through with clarity. The quiet internal work will reveal itself in undeniable ways. You will look back on this season and realize that what felt like a pause was actually a sacred preparation, a divine restructuring, a forming of spiritual strength that nothing can take from you. You have not been forgotten. You have not been delayed. You have been shaped. You have been prepared. You have been aligned with a purpose greater than you have imagined. And when the time comes, the progress that once felt invisible will unfold visibly, effortlessly, naturally, beautifully, because I have been with you in every unseen step. Hope does not always arrive with bright colors or loud announcements. It rarely enters your life like a rushing wind. Instead, it forms quietly, so quietly that at first you mistake it for a passing emotion, a flicker of relief, a momentary calm. Yet hope is one of the most powerful things I place inside you, because it is the first outline of what I am building in your future. And I have been shaping that hope within you, even on the days when you felt nothing at all. There have been moments, small, almost invisible, when you sensed something shifting inside your spirit. A soft warmth rising after a long night, a brief breath of peace entering your chest when you weren't expecting it. A thought that whispered, maybe things can change. These moments were not random. They were me laying the first brushstrokes of hope across the canvas of your heart. You have asked me many times, Lord, if you are working, why can't I feel it more clearly? Because hope grows in layers. It begins beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the exhaustion. It forms in the places your emotions cannot access, in the chambers of your spirit where my voice speaks softly but steadily. When I bring hope, I do not force it upon you. I breathe it into you. I let it settle like gentle light through a window. I allow it to rise slowly so that your heart can absorb it fully, without fear, without pressure, without rushing. Hope must be strong enough to withstand the weight of the promise it belongs to, and that strength comes from quiet beginnings. Sometimes you believe hope has vanished because you no longer feel excitement. But hope is not excitement. Hope is steadiness. Hope is inner alignment. Hope is the anchor that holds you while the storm tries to convince you otherwise. Hope is me placing my hand over your heart and saying, I am not finished with you. What I spoke is still alive. You may think hope is fragile because it feels soft, but softness is not weakness. Softness is sensitivity to my presence. Softness is the openness that allows faith to breathe again. Softness is the soil where destiny takes root. The quiet shape forming inside you is not a faint spark. It is the beginning of restoration, the beginning of renewal, the beginning of strength, returning to places you thought were permanently empty. And though you cannot yet see the full picture, hope is the outline. It is the early sketch of what I am preparing. It is the whisper before the clarity. It is the spark before the flame. I am shaping that hope intentionally, carefully, lovingly. And what I shape, I sustain. Let me take you deeper into what this hope is becoming within you. It begins as something barely noticeable, like the faint outline of dawn before the sun rises. You feel it not as sudden joy, but as a quiet steadiness returning to your spirit. Something soft, something persistent, something unmistakably alive. That is how I shape hope. Not in explosions of emotion, but in gentle movements that rebuild the heart from the inside outward. This hope is not a denial of your pain. It grows precisely because I have touched your wounds. When I breathe hope into you, I am not asking you to pretend everything is perfect. I am creating the strength you need to walk through what is imperfect. Hope is the quiet agreement between your soul and my voice, the agreement that says, Even here, even now, I am still working. You have seen the world try to replace hope with distraction, with quick relief, with temporary comfort. But what I give you is different. The hope I shape within you is durable. It survives drought. It survives silence. It survives nights when you cannot see your own progress. And it survives because it is connected not to circumstances, but to my presence. There have been moments when you felt almost guilty for feeling hopeful, as if hope was too fragile to trust. But I want you to understand something sacred. Hope is not fragile when I am the one who planted it. What I form inside you cannot be destroyed by confusion, cannot be undone by delay, cannot be weakened by waiting. Hope becomes the inner architecture of your destiny. It is the frame upon which faith builds, the soil where courage grows, the echo of my promise resonating through your spirit, even when everything around you seems quiet. Hope is the gentle reminder that you are not finished. Your story is not closing, and your future is not shrinking. It is expanding. I have been shaping this hope carefully, intentionally, quietly. I have been guiding your thoughts away from despair, realigning your emotions, steadying the shaking places within you. That subtle feeling rising inside your chest, that soft clarity, that spark of expectation, is not imagination. It is the evidence that my work is already active in your spirit, and soon the hope forming quietly will become visible strength. Soon, what you feel privately will unfold publicly. Soon, the outline will become the full picture. But for now, honor the quiet shape. Honor the small beginnings. Honor the whisper before the breakthrough. Hope is growing. Hope is awakening. Hope is becoming the foundation of the promise I am about to reveal. And if as you listen you feel that gentle rise in your spirit, if something inside you has begun to breathe again, if you sense that hope is forming in ways you cannot yet explain, write in the comments, Jesus, hope is taking shape inside me. There is a weight you have been carrying, one that sits on your chest without warning, one that follows you into moments that should feel peaceful, one that makes you wonder if something inside you is breaking. But listen closely. Nothing is breaking. Something is shifting. This weight is not a sign of collapse. It is a sign of transition. It is the pressure that comes when your spirit is expanding into a new season. Your mind has not yet understood. I have seen the heaviness you cannot describe. I have watched you wake in the morning already tired, as if your soul spent the night wrestling with something invisible. I know the way your thoughts race, the way your emotions tighten, the way your heart feels full and empty at the same time. You call it heaviness, but I call it the early movement of destiny, the stretching that happens before breakthrough. Your spirit recognizes what your emotions have not yet learned. Change is coming, and whenever your destiny shifts, your inner world trembles first. That trembling feels like weight, because you are being pulled away from old fears, old patterns, old limitations. The weight is not punishment, it is preparation. It is the tension of stepping away from what once felt familiar, even if it was painful, and stepping toward what I have shaped for you. You have prayed for growth, for clarity, for direction, yet growth rarely feels light at the beginning. The deeper I work, the more pressure you feel. Not because you are failing, but because I am pushing roots into deeper soil. I am strengthening the parts of you that must hold the promise. I am restoring the places that once fractured under stress. I am anchoring your identity so deeply in me that nothing can uproot you again. That is why the weight feels internal, not external. You sense it in your chest, in your breath, in your silence, in your thoughts. It presses not to crush you, but to shape you. It reveals where your heart is still healing. It exposes what you have been afraid to release. It surfaces the lies you unknowingly carried so I can replace them with truth. This weight is my hand, not my absence. It is my touch settling over the parts of you that are almost ready to emerge. It is my nearness deepening your faith beyond emotion, beyond feeling, beyond the surface. And though you have wondered why you feel this intensity now, why the heaviness grew just as you began to hope again, know this. The closer you come to alignment, the more your spirit senses the shift. Your heart feels the approach of the promise before your eyes see it. The pressure you feel is evidence that your path is straightening, your direction is refining, your purpose is taking clearer form. You are not overwhelmed because you are weak. You are overwhelmed because you are growing. You are not under attack, you are under transformation. You are not carrying too much, you are carrying something new. And the weight you cannot explain is me, preparing you for what is already on its way. Let me take you deeper into what this weight truly means. You have felt moments where the pressure rises without warning, where your heart grows tight, where your thoughts feel heavy, even though nothing around you has changed. You ask yourself, why do I feel this so deeply? What is happening inside me? And I whisper to you, this weight is not a burden, it is a signal. Your spirit is sensing what your mind has not yet caught up to. When destiny shifts, the soul prepares before circumstances do. When I move you toward alignment, everything inside you begins to adjust. That adjustment feels like a pull, a stretching, a tightening, a slow reconfiguration of who you are becoming. The weight you feel is the tension of transformation, the internal acknowledgement that what once fit you no longer does. There are parts of your heart I am strengthening, parts I am softening, parts I am reshaping entirely. All of this creates pressure because change is rarely gentle, and yet my touch is present in every bit of the process. I am not crushing you, I am carving space inside you for what is coming. You have outgrown old versions of yourself, and your spirit knows it. That knowing becomes weight until you release what no longer belongs to your journey. You have felt this most intensely in moments of stillness, when everything around you becomes quiet, and the only sound left is the echo of your own heartbeat. It is in this place that the heaviness feels the strongest, because silence amplifies what the soul is carrying. But do not fear the stillness. Stillness is where you see me more clearly. Stillness is where truth rises to the surface. Stillness is where healing reaches depths that noise could never touch. You have asked me, why now? Why does the pressure come when I am trying to move forward? Because forward requires release, forward requires refinement, forward requires the courage to let go of the weight that does not belong to the future I am shaping. And this new weight, the one you cannot explain, is not the weight of what is wrong. It is the weight of what is right, the weight of preparation, the weight of becoming, the weight of stepping into a larger version of your calling. You are being expanded on the inside so you can hold what I am sending on the outside. You are being stretched because your capacity is increasing. You are being refined because your destiny demands strength, not fragility. And though the pressure feels constant, it is not permanent. This weight is a season, not a sentence. It will lift as your spirit aligns with what I am forming in you. You will notice a shift, subtle at first, when the heaviness turns into clarity, when the pressure turns into direction, when the tension turns into peace. This is how transformation moves, quietly, then suddenly. So do not fear what you feel. Do not misinterpret this weight as something breaking. You are not collapsing. You are awakening. You are being prepared for a promise that requires the exact strength I am building through this season, and when the time comes, you will look back and understand that what felt heavy was actually holy, and what felt overwhelming was actually the beginning of becoming whole. There is a door in your life that you have stared at for so long that you began to believe it would never open. You prayed, you knocked, you waited, you hoped, and when nothing seemed to shift, a quiet resignation began to settle over your heart. You told yourself it wasn't meant to be. You convinced yourself that perhaps you misheard me, or that timing had passed you by. But listen carefully now, the door never stopped responding to my touch. What felt sealed was never sealed to me. What seemed immovable was only waiting for alignment. What looked silent was being prepared behind the scenes. I saw the moments when you stood before that door with trembling faith, wondering if your prayers were disappearing into the air. I saw the nights when frustration pressed into your chest because you couldn't understand why nothing was changing. But you did not know what I was adjusting on the other side. You did not see the invisible hinges being strengthened, the pathway being cleared, the direction being shaped, the timing being perfected. You assumed the door was closed because you saw no movement, but doors do not always open with noise. Many begin with a subtle shift, a quiet settling of the frame, a faint change in pressure, a nearly imperceptible response to my hand. And that small shift is happening now. You have felt it, even if only for a moment. Hair stirring you couldn't explain. A sudden sense of possibility where there had been none. A soft rise of hope that caught you by surprise. These were not coincidences. They were signs. The door is beginning to move. There is a rhythm in divine timing that the human heart cannot predict. You want clarity before movement, but in my kingdom, movement often precedes understanding. This is why the shift feels so subtle, so delicate, so quiet, because you are stepping into a transition that requires sensitivity to my voice more than certainty in your surroundings. I am guiding you toward the door in a way that strengthens your discernment. I am teaching you to recognize my nearness not by what you see externally, but by what awakens internally. The pressure you once felt has begun to transform into alignment. The confusion that surrounded you has begun to thin. The path before you, once foggy, is beginning to hold shape. You expected an explosion of change, but I am giving you a gentle unfolding. I am preparing your heart not just to walk through the door, but to carry what waits on the other side. And because of that, the opening must begin quietly, steadily, intentionally. The door is moving, not quickly, but certainly, not loudly, but undeniably. And soon, what has been shifting within you will become visible around you. Let me take you deeper into what this movement means. When a door begins to shift, even by a fraction, the entire atmosphere around it changes. Pressure adjusts. Light slips through cracks where there was once only shadow. The air itself begins to feel different. You may not see the full opening yet, but your spirit can sense the change. That sensation, the quiet awareness rising inside you, that is the evidence that I have touched the door. You have wondered for so long whether your efforts mattered, whether your prayers made any difference, whether your waiting had any purpose. But understand this, I never bring you to a closed place without preparing an opening. I never lead you to a threshold without guiding the timing of your crossing. You are not standing before a silent barrier. You are standing before a divine transition. There were seasons when you pushed against this door and felt resistance. You assumed resistance meant rejection, but resistance often means protection. I held the door still because stepping through too early would have fractured your peace, weakened your strength, or misaligned your purpose. I was not withholding the promise. I was holding you, guarding your destiny from premature exposure. Now the weight that once pressed against you is shifting, not because the journey has become easier, but because you have become stronger. You have allowed me to refine your desires, to clarify your intentions, to heal the spaces inside you that were once vulnerable to fear. And now, your spirit is ready for the movement you once thought would never come. When I move a door, I move it with intention, with timing that protects your heart, with direction that safeguards your calling, with alignment that honors your destiny. This is why the shift feels gentle. A sudden opening would overwhelm you. A slow one trains your sensitivity to my presence. I want you to recognize my hand, not only in miracles, but in the whisper of transition. I want you to feel my nearness not only when the door swings wide, but when it moves a single inch. Look closely at your spirit. You will notice signs of change. Peace has begun to settle where anxiety once ruled. Strength has begun to rise where fear used to weaken you. Clarity has started to form where confusion once clouded your path. These are not emotional moments. They are spiritual indicators that you are approaching a threshold. And soon, the movement will not be subtle. Soon the crack will widen. Soon light will pour through. Soon what I have prepared on the other side will call your name with unmistakable clarity. But for now, honor this shift. Cherish this quiet movement. Recognize it as the beginning of something holy. And if your spirit feels the truth of what I am saying, if you can sense even a slight stirring of hope, alignment, or expectation, write in the comments, "Jesus, I see the door beginning to move." You have wondered why some answers arrive slowly, why some prayers seem to linger in the air without response, why some promises unfold at a pace that feels almost unbearable. You have asked me, "Lord, why does it take so long?" And I whisper to your spirit, because what I am building requires more than a moment, it requires precision. There are answers that come quickly, and there are answers that come with weight. The ones that come slowly are the ones that require alignment. not just around you, but within you. I do not delay to frustrate you. I delay to prepare you. A rushed blessing can collapse under pressure, but a carefully formed one becomes a foundation for the rest of your life. You see the slowness. I see the architecture of destiny. Every detail matters. Every thread of timing matters. Every connection I am orchestrating must meet its proper moment. You do not realize how much I am protecting you from by moving slowly. If I opened certain doors too early, the path beyond them would not be ready. If I answered certain prayers instantly, the weight of the fulfillment might break what I am still healing inside you. So I move gently. I move quietly. I move in a way that shapes your faith before I reveal the outcome. You have felt me at work even when no visible change surrounded you. That subtle pull toward peace, the sudden clarity in the middle of confusion, the small bursts of strength in moments you thought you would fall apart. These were not random comforts. These were indicators that the answer was already being formed. The slow answer is not the silent answer. The slow answer is the steady answer. The slow answer is the protected answer. You see the weight as empty space, but it is full of my hands arranging what must come together perfectly. I have been aligning timing, preparing provision, softening hearts, shifting circumstances, strengthening your spirit, and shaping your character so that when the answer arrives, you are ready to hold it without fear. There are things I give quickly because they require little preparation, but the promises attached to your calling, your destiny, your healing, your purpose, those I craft with care, those I guard with my own presence, those I deliver only when the environment around you and the environment within you have come into agreement. Sometimes the slowness is not about the world around you, it is about the inner world I am restoring. You cannot enter a new season carrying the weight of an old one. You cannot step into clarity while holding on to confusion. You cannot receive fullness while still believing you are empty. This is why I take my time, because I am shaping you into someone who can receive without collapsing, someone who can walk forward without hesitation, someone who can carry blessing with peace instead of fear. And when the moment comes, and it will come, you will recognize that what felt slow was actually perfect. You will see how every delay protected you. You will understand how every quiet day was part of something divine being woven together. You will realize that the answer did not come late. It came exactly when your heart was ready to live in the fullness of what I promised. The slow answer is still the true answer. The slow answer is still the right answer. The slow answer is still my answer. And it is on its way, steady, intentional, unstoppable. I had been watching Amanda long before she noticed anything changing inside her. For many days, she moved through her routine with a quiet heaviness that even she couldn't fully explain. Her prayers felt tired. Her thoughts felt crowded. Her heart felt like it was carrying more weight than it could name. She looked at her life and saw the same patterns, the same delays, the same questions, so she assumed nothing was moving at all. But while she saw stillness, I saw movement. I was already working in the hidden places of her soul, places she didn't know how to touch with words. I was softening what had grown hard. I was calming what had grown tense. I was reweaving the torn threads of her faith with gentleness and patience. She thought her waiting was empty. In truth, her waiting was full of my hands arranging what she could not yet see. Then came the night when she felt it for the first time. It wasn't dramatic. No doors flew open. No sudden revelation flooded her mind. It began with something very small, a breath that settled differently in her chest, a quiet pause in her thoughts, a sense that the room around her felt less heavy than it had the day before. She could not explain it, but she knew it was real. For the first time in a long while, her heart did not feel like it was sinking. It felt held. That moment was me. It was my presence drawing a little closer to her awareness, not because I had been far away, but because her heart had finally made enough space to feel me again. It was my peace, pressing softly against the anxiety that had lived in her for so long. It was my healing beginning to rise from underneath the layers of disappointment, slowly loosening their grip. She sat on the edge of her bed, still unsure of what she felt. The questions were still there. The future was still unclear. The circumstances around her had not changed. Yet inside, something small and holy had shifted. The heaviness was not completely gone, but it was no longer in control. Hope, fragile but real, had entered the room. What Amanda could not see was how long I had been preparing her for that moment. I had been untangling fears that made her believe she was alone. I had been lifting memories that whispered lies about her worth. I had been realigning her thoughts so that, when my peace came, it would have a place to land instead of being pushed away. The first shift is often quiet. It rarely looks like breakthrough. It looks like breathing a little easier. It looks like not collapsing under the same pressure. It looks like feeling slightly lighter in a life that still looks the same. That small change inside her was proof that the promise over her life was not stagnant. It was awakening. Her spirit was beginning to rise to the level of what I had spoken long ago. She didn't yet know where the path would lead, but she no longer felt completely lost on it. I did not remove all of her battles in that instant. Instead, I placed strength inside her to face them differently. I did not answer every question that night. I gave her something deeper than an answer. I gave her awareness of my nearness. And once a heart becomes aware of my nearness again, nothing is truly the same. Amanda felt the first shift, and that was the beginning of the promise taking form not just around her, but within her. I have watched your faith through every season, through the moments when it burned bright, and through the moments when it trembled beneath the weight of confusion. You often judge yourself by how steady you feel, but I judge your faith by something deeper, your willingness to keep reaching for me even when everything inside you feels uncertain. And I want you to understand something sacred. Your faith is not failing. Your faith is being prepared. You have prayed for the promise, but I have also been shaping the one who will hold the promise. You have asked me to open new doors, but I have been strengthening your shoulders so you can carry what waits behind them. You have longed for clarity, but I have been refining your inner world so that when clarity comes, you will not sabotage it with old fears, old patterns, or old wounds. Preparation does not feel like progress, yet it is the most essential part of progress. You feel stretched because your faith is growing larger than its old container. You feel pressure because I am forming endurance within you. You feel tension because your spirit is shifting into alignment with what I am about to release. Faith is not built in the moments where everything makes sense. Faith is built in the shadows where you learn to trust my voice above your emotions. Faith is shaped in silence, trained in waiting, strengthened in uncertainty. And right now, even though you may not realize it, your faith is being constructed with more precision than ever before. There have been days when you felt unsteady, when doubt whispered loudly, when confusion clouded your direction. You assumed these moments made you weak. But weakness is not an enemy of faith. Weakness is the soil where true dependence grows. When your strength falters, my strength becomes clearer. When your confidence shakes, my nearness becomes unmistakable. When your understanding fails, my guidance becomes the anchor that keeps you from drifting. Do not despise the seasons where you feel stretched. Stretched faith becomes strong faith. Stretched faith becomes spacious faith. Stretched faith becomes faith capable of carrying destiny. You have asked me, Lord, why does this process feel so long? Why do I feel like I am being undone? Because before I elevate you, I deepen you. Before I fulfill the promise, I fortify the vessel. Before I move you forward, I ensure you are rooted enough not to collapse under the weight of what I give you. Your faith is being trained to receive, to hold, to endure, to carry. This preparation is not punishment, it is honor. It is my way of entrusting you with something that requires maturity, resilience, and clarity. I'm not only preparing the future for you, I am preparing you for the future. And soon you will notice the difference. You will move with more confidence, not because circumstances changed, but because something inside you did. You will stand with more steadiness, not because the path is easier, but because your spirit is stronger. You will recognize my direction more clearly, not because I speak louder, but because you have learned to hear me without the noise. Your faith is being prepared for what I promised, and when the moment comes, you will be ready, fully, deeply, unmistakably ready. If you feel my presence speaking to you right now, if something inside you is rising, if you sense your faith awakening to its true strength. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like, as a declaration that you are ready to step into what I am preparing you to carry. You have walked with me through silence, through waiting, through heaviness, through uncertainty, and yet here you are, still listening, still reaching, still choosing me, even when the path felt unclear. That alone reveals the strength I have been forming inside you. You are not the same person you were when this journey began. Your spirit has expanded, your hope has awakened, and your faith has been prepared to hold what I am releasing into your life. Everything I promised is still alive. Nothing has been lost. Nothing has slipped from my hands. You are standing closer to fulfillment than your emotions can understand. And soon, you will see how every slow moment, every quiet hour, every unseen shift was shaping you for what is coming. Trust what I am doing inside you. Trust the timing I have aligned for you. Trust that I walk with you into every new beginning. Now let me pray over you. My child, I breathe peace into your spirit now, peace that settles deep, peace that steadies your thoughts, peace that silences every voice of fear. I cover your heart with strength, restoring what weariness tried to thin. I pour healing into the wounds that still ache beneath the surface. I align your steps with clarity, direction, and purpose. I draw you close to my nearness, reminding you that you will never walk a single moment without me beside you. May hope rise again within you. May faith stand firm within you. May my presence guide you gently forward, and may you feel my hand over your life, shaping every detail with love. You are ready for what comes next. You are prepared for the blessing moving toward you. You are held, seen, protected, and deeply loved. And while you carry this word in your heart, watch the video that's appearing on your screen. Let it strengthen your spirit even more, because I will speak to you through it, just as I have spoken here.